Ladies and gentlemen, if we could call the room to order, please. Wow, that was good. Right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much all for coming. I'm just going to do the safety announcements. So I've been practicing my directions like this. But look, there's no fire alarm drill scheduled, so if the fire alarm does go off, we will be vacating the building, and we'll be vacating primarily by that door there, and we'll gather out in the car park out front. The event is being live streamed. You'll see the camera down the end. And we'll also be kind of keeping the recording of it after the fact. It's been live streamed on the Irish Kidney Association's YouTube channel. So that's where people, like friends and family, can see it now, or we'll put the event up later on and we'll be separating out each of our individual speakers. So it gives me great pleasure to invite our chairman of the Irish Kidney Association, Eddie Flood, to open today's event. Eddie.
Thanks, Colin. Good afternoon, everybody, and you're very welcome here to the Mansion House for launch of our Organ Donor Awareness Week. I'm a kidney transplant recipient, actually celebrated 14 years yesterday, so I'm especially delighted to be here today. Thank you. Of course, it was made possible by the family's decision to donate their loved one's organs. So, really a special thank you to that family. Thank you to all those special people and their families who donate their loved ones' organs, and the living donors also. All the dedicated healthcare professionals involved in organ donation and transplantation, I thank you as well. All those organisations supporting organ donation, and we are delighted to see so many of you here today, including Senator Mark Daly. We have patients and their families present who have experienced organ failure. And thank you to the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Emma Blaine, for the use of this beautiful venue. Our condolences to all people who have lost loved ones during the past year and before. And now we'll call on everybody to have a moment's silence, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shortly, we will hear from a brave mother of a young deceased organ donor, grateful people who have received organ transplants, and from a mother about life on dialysis while awaiting an organ transplant. We will hear from Dr. Brian O'Brien, Clinical Director of Organ Donor and Transplant Ireland in the HSE, who will give us an overview of organ donor and transplantation. Finally, we will hear from our CEO, Carol Moore, who will give us an outline onto the campaign for Organ Donor Awareness Week. So thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Eddie. And first of all, to just thank everybody for being here today. We really do appreciate your support. So first up, we have Nick Hines. Nick is an American who has lived and worked as a teacher in County Laois for over 21 years and received a heart transplant.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Hines. As we know, I'm a secondary school teacher. Originally from Minnesota, I had the chance to complete my teaching practice in Ireland in the early 2000s. While on that placement, I met my wife, and a year later, we were married. That was 22 years ago now, and we have 2 grown sons and a teenage daughter. Time is funny. 22 years seems plenty in some respects, but when you're told your time is up, it seems like a flash. I'm here because I received a heart from an organ donor. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I came to require this remarkable gift and how it has changed my relationship with time. Growing up in Minnesota, I was always active, winter skating and playing ice hockey, and in the summertime swimming and playing baseball and basketball. As I grew older, moved to Ireland and started a family, I did not slow down, continuing an active lifestyle, only now with my family. In February 2020, seemingly out of nowhere, I had a mild stroke that brought me into hospital where a number of tests uncovered heart failure. I was treated with medicine and had a defibrillator fitted as a backstop. Within the year of getting my ICD, I had a major ventricular fibrillation and dropped off my chair at the dinner table on a Sunday afternoon in front of my wife and daughter. There was zero warning or indication that this was coming. The thing is, my heart failure was asymptomatic. Inwardly, its function was in decline, while outwardly, to me and the rest of the world, I was fine. My other systems were in overdrive, compensating and adapting to the low output from my heart. Living with the knowledge that at any moment you can leave it all without warning impacted me and my family immensely. I lived for 3 years with the knowledge that the rug could be pulled at a moment's notice. Each night I would assess my day in detail, while trying to sleep and consider the implications of my not waking up. You have a bad day, you have an argument, you forget to do something or tell someone something. There's a fear that settles over you as you try to sleep. Just please let me get another day. Let me just wake up. And then you do, and the scramble begins to make it a good one. Thoughts of the future or even next month disappears. One's relationship with time is completely altered. The inspirational phrase, "live each day like it's your last," takes its toll on all aspects of life when it is your reality. My daughter was 10 years old when this reality became apparent to she and my wife that Sunday afternoon. In September 2023, 3 years after that stroke, 3 years living that way, I was walking my bins out to the road before school, and I couldn't breathe or move. I had gone off the cliff, as one doctor put it. I remember thinking, this is it. I got to A&E that morning where it was decided that I could no longer live with my native heart. Transplantation was the only hope. I was referred to the matter, and after a week called for an assessment, and they deemed me ready for a workup to check my eligibility for receipt of a heart. As they tested me, they uncovered more and more problems. The plan had been to get listed and go back to work and life and be called when a suitable donor came along. As I was, my eligibility was in question. I began to consider returning home to my loved ones before I would ultimately die. My doctors planned and implemented a strategy to treat my heart aggressively enough that I could get on the list and stay on the list. And it worked. I remained in the coronary care unit in the matter with the finest of care until an offer came, and it did. I was woken up by my coordinator and told I had a donor. Later, the surgeon arrived and asked me, "Do you know what's happening?" I said I did, but I had no idea what this really meant for me and my family. I've passed a year now with my transplant. I'm not just alive, I'm living. The expanse of time, the thought of tomorrow, the wonder about how my children will continue on in this world are all emotions that I can conceive of. The concerns, the joys, the hopes are the things that I can now share in a real way. For me to have this liberation of time, this new life, I've tried to calculate the volume of contributors. Nurses, carers, dietitians, cleaners, psychologists, doctors, surgeons, physios, secretaries, pharmacists, and coordinators, numbering in excess of over 300 professionals who had such compassion and dedication to their work that my recollections of the process of transplantation are positive in the main. But none of it starts or means anything without one person's selfless act, and that is my donor and their family. So now, when I have a bad day, I thank my donor and their family that I can have time to heal it. And when I have a day that's good, I can thank my donor and their family for the joy. I'd like to thank you, the Irish Heart and Lung and Transplant Association and the Irish Kidney Association for having me here today to share my journey.
Thank you, Nick. I know that was very difficult, and your bravery and your story is just so inspiring. And you really demonstrate how we think transplantation may never affect us, and then suddenly all is changed and time becomes limited. The statistics tell us you are 3 times more likely to need an organ donor than you are to be an organ donor. So we're very grateful that you're here today to tell us your story. Next, we have Alcina O'Brien, who worked as a nurse and received a kidney-pancreas transplant. So I'll call on you, as Alcina, to come forward now.
Good afternoon. My name is Alcina O'Brien. I'm from Loughree, County Galway. I'm a very proud recipient of 2 fabulous organs. Thanks to my amazing donor, I received a simultaneous kidney and pancreas transplant. I had this surgery done in St. Vincent's University Hospital here in Dublin, and it has truly transformed my life. I'm 51 years of age. I'm a mother to a 16-year-old teenager who's full of activity and zest for life. Her name is Rihanna. And Rihanna has been with me through good times and bad times. And she too really appreciates the gift of organ transplantation. I'm a nurse by profession, as Carol said. I'm retired now, and I have 30 years service under my belt. So I think that gives me a very unique standing where I've experienced care and treatment really on both sides of the fence. And this has given me a sincere passion to share my experiences, help others along the way. Over my time, I received many an outstretched hand that helped me to get to where I am now. So my goal now is to put my own hand out and to really help others by sharing my experiences and how I dealt with things to help them on their journey also. In 1996, I was 23 and I was diagnosed with insulin-dependent diabetes. I nearly forget what I had now that I've been without it for the last few months. This was a big shock to me, and it was a very frightening time. But as the years went by, many challenges came my way, and I overcame them. Over time, my renal function started to decline, and in 2019, I started hemodialysis. I started dialysis in Merlin Park Hospital in Galway, and where this was saving my life, it completely uprooted my home life, my work life, my social life, my personal life. Most of all, the word I would use is restriction. That came to mind at the very start of my journey with dialysis. How is it going to manage this? 3 days a week, going to Merlin Park, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no matter what's going on. Each session lasted about 4 hours. And it was really tough. I had to deal with very poor body image. I had 2 ports on my upper chest wall, and I found this really difficult. A lot of my daughter's activities I couldn't go to, and different family events I couldn't go to. And I really missed out on this. I had to deal with my life to deal with. I had to follow a diabetic diet and a renal diet, and this was really difficult as well. But I did my best along the way, and many a time I say to my partner, Simon, oh, I just love a cup of tea. But I'm afraid with the fluid restriction, that wasn't always possible. So during my time on dialysis, I have to say the overriding feelings was restriction, sadness, worry and fear for the future, poor self-esteem and isolation. But what helped me along the way, the Irish Kidney Association offered me counselling sessions, and this really gave me some tools to help me improve my mental health. I was on dialysis for 5 years and waiting for that miraculous call, which finally came last year. When I got that call, I was full of mixed emotions. I was fearful, I was excited, I was hopeful, and I just sensed relief that my life could be changing and could change forever. However, I was deeply aware of the sadness and the grief that another family were after experiencing at this time. Thanks to the selfless act of the family donating their loved ones' organs, I was given a second chance at life. This extraordinary sense of generosity, I will carry this with me for the rest of my life. Really, really changed my life and has given me a gift with my daughter and my partner, Simon. While I was on the waiting list, I had a few ups and downs, and one of them being my lovely injury to my leg. So I broke my leg 2.5 years ago. I shattered my ankle and I had to have an ankle fusion. So there was a few complications when I went in for surgery to have my transplant, but the holistic care that I received from all the staff in St. Vincent's Hospital was remarkable. I particularly have to mention my transplant coordinators, Caroline and Jen, who are here today. They outstandingly stood beside Simon and I every step of the way. I can see Simon nodding his head there. To that, we're very grateful. My surgery was successful, and my recovery was extraordinary, but it didn't happen by just myself and Simon. There was a team around me that were exceptional and dedicated their time to ensure I had a good recovery. At this time, I was mobilising on a knee walker, but just with slight adjustments, I recovered as, I suppose, being looked after holistically, as well as anybody else, even though it was a big worry at the time for me. So once I had my surgery, I remember feeling a huge thankfulness. How was I ever going to thank everybody who cared for me, who made this possible? My donor, their family, the staff, all the staff. If you were to start no more than Nick there, where do you stop? You really want to thank everybody so much for their commitment to you. I no longer have diabetes now after 28 years. I have a newfound of freedom. I have a lot more energy. I'm extremely anxious to move forward in my life with my lovely partner Simon, who has helped me through thick and thin, my daughter Rihanna. I no longer have ports in my chest. I no longer, for the first time, wear medical devices. There's no insulin pump, there's no sensors. And this has helped improve my self-confidence and my self-esteem. So just to finish up, I just want to say I am here today standing in front of you with a heart full of gratitude. And I just want to read one thing that I have here. I was reading this on the train on the way up and I thought it was very apt. Without the organ donor, there is no story. There is no hope. There is no transplant. However, with the organ donor, life springs from death. sorrow turns to hope, and a terrible loss becomes a gift. Thank you.
Technology, huh?
It's all gone dark.
While Colin's doing that, I'll just, I think, Alcina, I've heard your story before and you tell it so beautifully, and each time you tell it, I take something new out of it. And, you know, this extraordinary sense of generosity, I think you say that so well, that it's just amazing what people can do in such difficult times. And you've shown very much that it isn't just a physical health illness, it's a mental health issue. And it's really great to see there's more awareness now of the need to treat both physical and mental health, and really terrific to see the difference that transplant has made in your life. So thank you again, Alcina. So next up we have Brian O'Brien, who is the Clinical Director of Organ Donation, and, or to give it its short name, part of the HSE ODTI. So thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much. I started by saying thank you to Carol, Gwen, and to Colin for coordinating the invitation to speak here today. I often, and it was how I was going to start, get a little bit frustrated when people characterized organ donation and transplant as miraculous as a process, because the thing is, miracles are things that allegedly or may just happen. But these are not things that just happen. These are things that are actually the culmination, the fruit of an enormous collaborative process. And to come at it from another angle, calling something that happens every week in Ireland a miracle is probably, in a sense, incorrect. And yet, as the previous speakers have illustrated, the impact it can have is so profoundly transformative that it certainly feels like one. Transplants, though, really are ultimately among the most remarkable of medical collaborations. The success and the progress in recent generations in this area of medicine is actually unlike other areas of medical or scientific progress. I took as examples, when I was thinking of what to say, the development of antibiotics or anesthesia or vaccination. These are all crucial to making modern medicine what it is. But they are ultimately predicated, if you think about the history of them, on a single prescient insight by some very clever scientist. Transplant medicine, conversely, is a far more complicated scaffold. It is a sort of culmination of multiple separate breakthroughs, which have led to what is now a modern practice, allowing the lives to be lived that we've just heard people describing. I often use as an illustration of this the observation that in the second half of the 20th century, which I'm fairly sure is 50 years, there were about 10 Nobel Prizes for medicine awarded in recognition of various achievements, all of which contribute to the survival of transplant patients today. But while much of what defines modern medicine entails complex science and these kind of technological breakthroughs and innovations, it is humbling that one of the most sophisticated frontiers of medicine is actually ultimately founded on community, on altruism, and on compassion. Organ donation is a gesture of kindness to strangers, typically made in the very bleakest of circumstances. It encapsulates much of what is good about humanity. Under forthcoming legislation, for the first time in Ireland, living donation will become feasible. We will see with the implementation of the Human Tissue Act the advent of a new era, which will for the first time place a firm legal foundation to the complex scaffolding of our practice. It should also help clarify matters of communication around the process, and I hope will serve to boost awareness. It is happening, we believe, in the near future, and ongoing in recent years has been a large body of work to put in place the technology, the systems, the prototypes of communication, and the coordination of matters that are all relevant to the enactment of the Human Tissue Act. I particularly credit my various colleagues, I see John Walsh and many others here from ODTI here today, for their ongoing endeavours in this area. It is difficult to fully appreciate how much work has already gone into it. The effect of the new law for any of the majority of Irish people who are willing to donate their organs after death might appear on the face of it to be nil. Indeed, one might say that there aren't many situations in our lives where you can feel good about yourself or where you can take the moral high ground for simply doing nothing, because anyone not registering opposition to donation might in a sense appear to be deemed willing to support it. But probably the most crucial message I can make here today is that ICU doctors like myself and Catherine Motherway is here, we will continue to link with families and to discuss with them patients' wishes, even under the new legislation. So it is most crucial that people discuss their wishes about this area with their families, even as the new law takes effect. The views of those close to you will continue to be explicitly sought, and so we would encourage you to discuss your views openly with your family and to make them clear. By simply saying that you would be willing to donate your organs after death, you may save, prolong, or transform the lives of others, should such a catastrophe happen. As I prepared to speak here today, I tried to find ways to fully articulate the sense of gratitude, better ways to say thank you other than simply those words, which we hear them so often they can feel hollow. But I think, in fairness, the speakers before me, by living the lives they're living, have more than done justice to that. I would just finally say, though, to the bereaved families of donors, probably hundreds of whom I've actually encountered professionally in my career, I do hope that the gesture that you made gives some consolation and attenuates somewhat the pain of bereavement. And on that note, and with that thought, I think the minute of silence we started with at the beginning acknowledged that sensation too. But I would say thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. I think you made it very clear that it is a highly technical process, over 300 different people involved in a single transplant operation, and we hear so much bad about, our healthcare system. And when you think about the coordination that requires, it's quite amazing. And also the recognition that, it is a gesture of kindness to strangers, made in the bleakest of circumstances, and it really does encapsulate so much of what is good about our humanity. So thank you for that. So next up, as you see from the screen, and we'll have to fix that for next year, we have Avril Whitty, who has had a liver transplant.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's hard to put into words what it feels like to be given a second chance, but today I want to try, because it's not just my story, it's a story of family, love, endurance, and the life-changing power of organ donation. My name is Avril Whitty, and I had a liver transplant almost 2 years ago. 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune liver disease just after getting married to my college sweetheart. For 11 years, this condition was managed under the watchful eye of Professor Courtney in St. Luke's. I always tried to make the most of life, doing all the things a 20-something-year-old does, saving for a mortgage, expanding my family, thriving in work, spending time with family and friends. However, silently I suffered with symptoms like jaundice, chronic fatigue, infections that took me longer to recover from, and multiple procedures. 2.5 years ago, it became very clear that things had changed. The outlook wasn't so hopeful, with more hospital visits, more symptoms daily, and at that point I was referred to be assessed for a transplant. A process that came with an overwhelming mix of emotions, fear and uncertainty, but also a silent hope that I might be one of the lucky ones. In that May, I was officially listed. That day marked the beginning of a new chapter, not just for me, but for my husband, Justin, who walked beside me every single moment of sickness, anxiety, and exhaustion. I could not have made it through without his unwavering support. He carried so much weight when I couldn't, and he stood strong when I needed someone to lean on. Our daughters, Alicia and Cora, were 17 and 8 at the time. Watching your children grow while wondering if you'll be around to see the next year of your life is a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. But they gave me strength and they gave me my purpose. Alicia, wise beyond her years, kept me calm and grounded. And Cora, with her innocence, energy and joy, reminded me every day that there was still so much light to fight for. Over the weeks that followed, I got worse. There was more hospital admissions every 2 weeks, I would say, and I was told I was one bad infection away from not making it. Then just 2 months after being listed, I got that incredible phone call. A donor had been found. In the midst of someone else's heartbreak, they made the selfless decision to give the ultimate gift, the gift of life. That moment changed everything. It gave me back my future. It gave me more days with my family, and it gave me hope. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about my donor, their family. I don't know their name, but I carry them with me every single day. I live my life now in honour of them, with more gratitude, more purpose, and more love. I am living now and not just surviving. Organ donation is not just a medical miracle. It's a deeply human act of compassion. It turns loss into legacy and pain into possibility. I am here today because someone said yes, and that yes saved my life. So today I ask all of you, please consider becoming an organ donor. Talk to your families, let your loved ones know your wishes. One decision can make someone like me, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's daughter, the chance to keep living, loving, and dreaming. To the donor families, to the medical staff, the surgical team, the transplant coordinators, the consultants at St. Vincent's University Hospital, thank you. You truly make miracles happen. To my wider family, amazing friends, my neighbours, my work colleagues, your support through my recovery will never be forgotten. And to Justin, Alicia and Cora, thank you for holding me through my hardest days. The life we have now is the greatest gift of all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Avril. As you said, watching your children grow while wondering if you'll be around to see the next year of their lives, that's a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I think, wow, to be in that position is just unfathomable, and I admire your bravery. You're so incredibly strong, and you really make so clear why organ donation is such an important thing to think about and to have that conversation with your family. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the campaign and also some of the data around organ donation in Ireland. So if we look at the figures, the purple bar is a 5-year average pre-COVID from 2015 to 2019. Because as we all know, when COVID happened, it totally disrupted all healthcare services. So you can see that pre-COVID, there was 85 deceased donors. Last year, 2023, not 2024, we saw it went above the pre-COVID figures, but sadly in 2024, there was a slight decrease in deceased donors in the grey bar. And that has had a consequent impact on all donations across all organs. So we can see that the trend generally in 2024 was disappointing, that we saw a big increase. Kidneys went from a 5-year average of 128 to 2023, there were 161, dropping back to 145 for deceased donations. And then we see on liver that there was a 5-year average of 61. 2023, it was at 54 and dropping slightly back to 53. So we can see the complexity of trying to increase organ donations. There's so much involved in making it happen. And then we see that lungs, where we were doing 2 lung donations per month, we're now down to just over one transplant per month. Right. So the figures aren't really where we'd like them to be. And we can see that living donors prior in the COVID period, we were doing 43 per year, but now we're doing 30 per year. So how does that compare to other countries? Because we all know the difficulties that the COVID has put onto the healthcare systems. So if we look at international comparisons, organ transplants per million population, 2021 to 2023, we don't have the 2024 figures yet, okay? So if we look, we have seen an increase in organ donations. 2023 was a good year. So we went from an average 5-year pre-COVID of 40.5, we've increased to 51.0 in 2023. So that's an improvement. And if we compare that to a country like Latvia, we're definitely doing better than Latvia. But if we compare ourselves to the likes of Croatia, which doesn't have our GDP, but has a similar population, we can see that they're making great strides, and they've gone up to 75 organ transplants per million population. So there's a similar country to compare to. Now, Spain is acknowledged as the world leaders in transplant, and we can see that even though pre-COVID they were at 99.5, which was nearly double at that point what we're doing, they're continuing to increase their rate of transplantation at a faster rate than we're actually doing. And then United Kingdom, they're actually increasing as well from 59.2 to 69. And the interesting thing about the UK is that they produce very detailed data publicly. You can go onto a website and see right down to every single hospital the rate of donation and the rate of transplant, if it's a transplanting hospital. So there's huge transparency about the figures. So you can see, compared internationally, that we're not doing as well as we would like to do. So this is where the Human Tissue Act is a foundational piece in terms of one of the elements that is going to help us improve. So if a potential organ donor is identified, under the current system, the family's approach for consent. But when the new Human Tissue Act is commenced, the first thing that healthcare professionals will do is check the opt-out register. And if a person is on the opt-out register, the family will not be approached. So a clear message to take away and to spread is that the only time a family are not involved if somebody has already opted out. And as Brian has said, if somebody isn't on the opt-out register, the family is still approached for consent. Right? So the role of the family is still as important, because healthcare professionals need consent before they can take the organ. There's deemed consent, then there's actual consent. So contrary to misinformation, you may have seen that everybody is now automatically a donor. That is not the case. And we still need these reminders of which to be a donor. And there's a couple of these. There's the organ donor card, and it was great talking to a driver there the other day, and he was carrying the card around in his wallet, so his family obviously will know his wishes. There's the driving license, code 115 on the driving license. And what's really interesting about this, 1.6 million people have ticked code 115 from January 23rd to 2nd of May 2025. And that's without any promotional campaign. So what that tells us is that Irish people are very generous and they're very positively disposed towards organ donation. And then a newer one is my personal wishes and care plan, which is something the Irish Hospice Foundation developed to help people plan their healthcare treatments. And if you're a patient, it's a great document. I really encourage you to download it from their website. And it talks about your wishes for your healthcare treatment. And there's even a question, do you want to donate your organs in the event of death? So again, we're moving more towards a system where there's multiple reminders of the wish to be an organ donor. So we really welcome the legislation, because the last legislation in this area where organ donation wasn't even a possibility dates back to 1832. It provides an essential legal framework for organ donation. For the first time, it'll allow altruistic donation. So we do have living donation in that family members or friends can donate, but if you want to donate to a stranger, you have to go abroad at the moment. So this is a big piece. And then there will be a review of the statutory opt-out register 3 years from the date the Act commences. So to summarise, we know, and you've heard here, organ donation serves lives. Organ donation, it gives hope, and you've heard that here again. It helps grieving families, because as families have said to us, it's like a candle of light at a very, very dark time. And the research shows that where people can ascribe a meaning to the death of their loved one, it helps them grieve in a more positive way. Organ donation is also very cost effective. It's not just clinically the best treatment for people, it's cost effective. So to give an example, on kidney dialysis, it costs $125,000 per year per patient to keep that patient on dialysis. Now, initially you have the cost of the operation, but over the average 15-year lifespan of a kidney, per patient you save €1.6 million. And every year we need the equivalent of 2 new dialysis units. So this is really something we should be encouraging. And I think, for me personally, one of the really important things about organ donation building community solidarity, and you've heard that here, it's breaking down boundaries. It's making people more generous. And the picture shows just one example of that community solidarity, where Dennis and Martina Goggin, a deceased organ donor family, they donated their son's Eamon's organs. And they went off and they developed this wonderful garden in Galway and Salt Hill. If you're ever there, definitely go visit it. And it's a tribute to all organ donor families. And so many conversations take place here. I don't have time to give you examples of them, where the community come together. And when there's so much badness and so many horrible things going on in the world, we need more of this. We need more of these human acts of kindness. And as our patron, President Michael D. Higgins said, it's a solidarity that binds us together as humans, opening our minds and our hearts to a universal human family. And certainly for me as CEO of the IKA, one of the privileges for me of being CEO is I get to talk to the transplant recipients, to deceased donor families, and it's inspiring. You see the good side of humanity. You know, and when we see all these bad things happening, we need more of this. And I think we really need to be selling this more, not in a crass way, but it's inspiring. And it's a great privilege for me to be part of this conversation. So moving on to the campaign itself, it's available in 4 languages. The strapline is "Don't leave your loved ones in doubt," which I hope you all now understand why we're sticking with this. And we're trying to get it out to as many people as possible. And we have a range of supporters, a wide range of pharmacy chains have come on board. The Irish Pharmacy Unit on board. We'll be at their conference there next week. Healthy Ireland have come on board. So there'll be posters in a lot of the libraries. Post have been great support. They have a number of employees who have been transplanted, and they'll be displaying the donor cards in over 500 post offices. And then, thanks to Clear Channel, they give us free outdoor advertising. So you'll see the signage in a number of different shopping centres. And there'll be a range of campaign resources which can be downloaded from the IKA website at www.ika.ie/donorweek, ranging from how to run events, questions about organ donation, posters, and social media graphics. And the taglines are "Leave no doubt," "Share your wishes," and Donor Week 25. So again, we'd ask people to really share this on social media or talk to your family, talk to your community about it. And we have a range of people who are working with us on this. Obviously, we have the support of the Department of Health who are here today, and ODTI, lots of people here, and we're delighted to have their support for this. And then obviously other patient advocacy organisations who are here today. And again, these are growing, which is great, and we're delighted that for the first time we have a representative from Transplant Sports Ireland, and they will also be amplifying the message. So there'll be a range of volunteers out in the community during Organ Donor Awareness Week, which kicks off next Saturday, and they will be having coffee mornings, they will be talking to their families, they will be going into libraries, and hopefully posting a lot on social media so we get this actually trending. So I want to really thank everybody. This campaign doesn't just happen, with a couple of people. It really requires a huge team of volunteers and supporters and collaboration to make it all happen. So thank you very much. So next up we'll have Adrian Flynn, who received a double lung transplant.
Hi everybody. My name is Adrian Flynn, and I had a double lung transplant a year and a half ago. I never thought when I got my first driver's license and ticked the box for organ donation, I would be in a position where I would need a transplant. At the end of 2016, I was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer of the thymus gland. It's called thymoma. I had surgery to remove it, a sternotomy. The surgery was successful and I recovered well. Then I started to get bad chest infections that wouldn't clear. I went back to hospital for tests and it was discovered I had a lung condition called bronchiectasis. It had no obvious cause, and after a lot of tests, it was discovered that the removal of the thymus gland had damaged my immune system and caused a rare condition called Good syndrome, which means I don't produce antibodies to fight bacterial infections. By this stage, my lungs were colonized with a nasty bacteria and was destroying them. I was oxygen dependent, and I was informed my only hope of extending my life was a double lung transplant. I was referred to the Mater Heart Lung Transplant Unit under the care of Dr. Michelle Murray and the team. I failed my initial transplant assessment as I was 47 kilos in weight, too frail to survive surgery, and the amazing team in the Mater got to work and spent the next 5 months getting me transplant ready. I spent the next 3 years on a transplant list with constantly deteriorating lung function and infections. I was housebound, wheelchair-bound, and on oxygen concentrators 24 hours a day. The final 11 months before transplant, I spent in hospital on the transplant unit, as my condition had deteriorated and my oxygen needs had become too high and infections too dangerous. During the 3 years, and particularly the last 11 months in hospital, there were many hard battles where the amazing transplant team, doctors, physios, dietitians, transplant coordinators, surgeons and staff, kept me alive and sane till the day I received the amazing gift of lung transplant. My transplant has been a huge success, far beyond anything I could ever have imagined. My transplant didn't just improve my quality of life, it gave me life. It gave me the one thing I wanted the most, the one thing you can't buy, you can't stop, and you can never have enough of. More time. More time with my amazing wife and kids, and more time to live. I would not be here today if it wasn't for my amazing donor and their family, who had that difficult conversation and made the selfless decision to donate their organs. To say life is a gift, and that's why it's called a present. Because of the gift of organ donation, I have a present, and I now have a future. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. You've really shown the wonderful gift that is organ donation, and you can see the difference in the photographs. And Adrian sent through a few photographs, and I hadn't seen the well one. And when I saw him, I just didn't recognise him because he was such different. So you really just epitomise the difference that it's not, as you say, just about survival. It's about a second chance to enjoy living. So well done on that. Next up, we have Cillian Murphy, who is actually still waiting for a kidney transplant.
Hello, my name is Keelan Murphy, and I've been asked to speak to you today to give you an insight into what life is like on the transplant list. I want to thank the Irish Kidney Association for always advocating for those whose lives are touched by kidney failure and for giving me the chance to share my story with you today. In July of last year, I had both of my kidneys removed. I have a genetic condition called polycystic kidney disease, which usually doesn't develop until adulthood, and which causes countless cysts to grow in the kidneys until they eventually stop working. It's a disease that runs heavily in my family. 2 aunts, 2 uncles, and 2 cousins have had it, and my brother and my mum. We keep the nephrologists and surgeons in business. Both my mum and my brother have had successful transplants in Beaumont Hospital. My mum is here with us today, having received a kidney from her amazing sister Traxie 23 years ago. In total, our family have had 6 successful transplants, a remarkable number of lives in one family changed through the kindness of others. Before my surgery, the cysts had caused my kidneys to grow so large they weighed almost a stone. My stomach was huge from then, and I was constantly asked when my baby was due, which is not the best for your self-esteem. I couldn't eat more than a few mouthfuls at a time. I was out of breath just walking, and I was losing weight rapidly. Eventually, the decision was made to remove them. I started dialysis the day before the operation, and I've been on it 3 days a week ever since, hooked up to a machine that filters toxins out of my blood for 3.5 hours at a time. Dialysis affects me even on the days that I'm not there. Fatigue, muscle cramps, restless legs, and nausea are to name just a few of its side effects. I won't go into how brutal the time was, recovering from major surgery while beginning dialysis, but I'm in awe of my body's ability to cope with everything it went through. And I'm extremely grateful to the amazing doctors and nurses who have cared for me in Beaumont and in Northern Cross Dialysis Unit. I joined the transplant list in August, and ever since then, it's felt like I've been living my life in a waiting room. Always on edge, every second spent waiting for a phone call that could give me some semblance of a life back. Life on the list doesn't really feel like living. It feels like surviving, watching everyone else go about their normal lives while you're stuck, constantly hoping and waiting. At the same time, there's the guilt of hoping for that call, knowing that when it comes, it means that another family is grieving. It's a lot to carry mentally. There's a physical toll as well. I have a huge scar the length of my stomach from my surgery, and my arm there is severely disfigured from my fistula where I received my dialysis. While I'm not vain, I've become extremely conscious of my arm, as so few people know what it is and why it's like that. It's just another cross to bear with this disease. I have 3 amazing young children, Danny, Noah, and Lauren, and a wonderful husband. Ross, my husband, has been incredible, working full-time to keep us afloat and being both mum and dad on the days that I'm in dialysis. Thank you, Ross, for going above and beyond every day. What would a transplant mean to my family? It would give us time to enjoy birthdays, milestones, and holidays, time to have a coffee out with friends or a meal with my family without counting my fluid intake, sodium, potassium, or phosphate levels in every meal, time and energy to play with my kids again. A chance to go back to the job I love full-time. It would give me the chance to be a proper mum again. The average wait for a person of my blood type is 3 to 4 years. That's the whole teenage life of my son, who's 14. He could be an adult by the time I get a transplant. It's years of my kids having a part-time mum. My eldest son, Danny, has been diagnosed with the same disease, and I know it weighs heavily on his mind that he may go through what he's seeing me deal with. I'm really hoping that while it's probably too late to reduce my time on dialysis, the new legislation in the Human Tissue Act, which includes altruistic donation, will encourage more families to discuss organ donation and give hope and mean a better future for him, give him the time that I'm missing. There's the obvious emotional, social, and financial impacts that life on dialysis has, but I just want to share a few short stories to show you how my illness has affected our kids. I'm a primary school teacher, and usually I'd have school holidays off to spend with my children. At the start of the recent Easter holidays, my 7-year-old daughter Lauren turned to me and asked, "Mum, can you take the Easter holidays off dialysis so we can have fun together?" She doesn't realise that there's no break from dialysis, no days off. She just misses the mum who's always there. The guilt of leaving them on special days like holidays and birthdays has weighed heavily on my mind. And then there's my beautiful 11-year-old son, Noah. I haven't said this to him, but when I was tidying up on Christmas Day, I found a note that he'd left for Santa in his stocking. I think it must have fallen out, so I'm sorry, Noah. Santa never got it, but I did, and I hope you don't mind me reading it now. It said, "Dear Santa, all I really want for Christmas is for my mum to get a kidney transplant. Please, Santa, from Noah, on Christmas Day at 10:30 for my mum." On Christmas Day, Noah kept asking me what time it was, and I didn't understand why until I saw that note. Receiving a kidney would mean a chance at normality for my little family, a mum who's there for holidays and Christmases, a chance for us to have what so many people take for granted, a chance to finally step out of the waiting room and back into life. At a time when self-interest and materialism can feel overwhelming, organ donation is a powerful reminder that compassion still exists. It's a rare and selfless act, giving a part of oneself not for gain, but out of kindness. It shows that our capacity to care for others is still very real and strong enough to save lives. Most families who decline donation do so simply because they don't know their loved one's wishes. Please, please, please have that conversation today. It could give somebody like me and my family a chance at a better life. Thank you.
Thank you, Keelan. That was a very moving speech, and you've really got across the hard reality of life on dialysis. There are no days off, and even talking about your son's Noah's request, it's heartbreaking. You know, the impact, it's not just on the individual who has the disease, the impact on the families and their friends and their relatives. It's just so tough. So our final story is from Olivia Farrell, who donated the organ of their daughter, Lauren.
Hi, my name is Olivia Farrell, and I'm from Leixlip, County Kildare. It is an honour to be asked here to celebrate the extraordinary life of my daughter. Always so well organised, so capable. Her organisational skills were impressive. She had planned everything in advance. Showing a maturity that outweighed her years, Lauren even got her full driver's licence and her first car at the age of 17. She couldn't wait for that freedom. She was remarkably independent and selfless, and wasn't afraid of hard work either. Balancing part-time jobs all through secondary school and university to earn her own way, that selfless and willingness to contribute was just a part of who Lauren was. Lauren carried the drive into her career as an accountant. She truly loved her job, and she found a brilliant job or firm where she thrived. It fills me with warmth to know how much her colleagues and her friends adored her. It was a testament to her skill. She combined keen intellect with unwavering dedication. She didn't just see numbers, she saw stories, opportunities, and possibilities. With a large extended family, there were plenty of gatherings over Lauren's lifetime. Lauren danced and sang to all genres of music, and always well ahead of everyone else, buying tickets in advance, ready for her next experience. And then last year, in her memory, my family and I went to see Taylor Swift. A massive fan, I know Lauren's spirit was there dancing with us. But today, I want to share not only my pride and in her life and accomplishments, but I also want to share the legacy that Lauren left behind. When we got the news Lauren had a sudden heart attack, it was the worst possible moment in our lives, when no parent wants to face the unimaginable loss of their only child. When we met with the medical team, they gently asked us about organ donation. Though Lauren never discussed her desire to be an organ donor with us, it was clear that when we were faced with the question of organ donation in that heartbreaking moment, and without even a thought, our immediate reaction was yes. The transplant coordinators came to discuss the organ retrieval with us. Their compassionate, empathetic, respectful, and caring nature really made us feel more at ease. We were relieved to know that we could trust Lauren into their care. They went through the procedure with us, answering any questions we had about the operation. And on that same evening, they let us know that Lauren's liver was a match to a person on the organ donor list. Knowing then that Lauren was going to save another person's life, I knew it was the right decision. Her heart valves were also donated to help others in need. A couple of weeks later, I found an organ donor card in her wallet, a card she'd chosen to carry, a decision that spoke volumes about her thoughtful nature. Though she never discussed her desire to be an organ donor, it was clear to me that she had already made her choice. In that heartbreaking moment, when we were faced with the question of organ donation, I knew that we honored her wishes and it was the right path forward. Organ donation is something I never truly considered until her passing. I would never have even thought about it, let alone discuss it, but Lauren has changed all that. In her final act, her incredible gift has saved and transformed lives. Witnessing the difference her life made in choosing to be an organ donor fills me with pride. Lauren had already signed the organ donor card, and I knew we had made the right decision in her selfless act and beautiful act. Lauren had chosen to donate her organs. This decision speaks volumes about her character, a young woman full of love, compassion, and desire to make a difference in the lives of others. To know that another person lives on, that other families have been spared the heartbreak because of her selfless act, is a testament to her loving, giving nature, and the pride I feel is indescribable. Her generosity has given hope to families in need, and in her passing, she has become a beacon of light in somebody else's life. Her strength in life now shines through her strength in death. Lauren's kindness, selflessness, and commitment to family continue to shape my lives and those of the lives she touched. I encourage you all to embrace those values in your own lives. Lauren's life lives on through the lives she touched, and I encourage you to have open discussions about organ donations with your families, friends, communities, and schools. I can't emphasize enough the importance of talking about these donations beforehand. None of us know what is going to happen tomorrow, and by having the discussions with your loved ones, we can respect each other's wishes in times of tragedy. To be here today in the presence of owner recipients and listening to their stories, I'm very honored. Organ donation is a decision that can transform grief into hope and keep the spirit of our loved ones alive in the lives of others and in ways we never thought possible. To my dear daughter, Lauren, thank you for being the most amazing person you were. Thanking you for teaching us the power of kindness, love, and incredible generosity, and the importance of living life to the fullest. Your final gift reminds us of the power we have to help others, even after we're gone. You have inspired me and countless others, and I will carry your spirit with me always. You are and will always be my amazing, selfless, beautiful daughter.
you, Olivia, for your generosity and bravery in sharing Lauren's story. And it's wonderful to see how your family used a terrible tragedy. I mean, she was so young, and to do something so selfless and positive. And you didn't even know her wishes, but you knew the type of person she was, that she was the type of person who wanted to help others. And one of the things we talked about was, although she was an accountant, and I myself am an accountant, or what? Yeah, I still am an accountant, that she was interested in the stories. It wasn't just about the numbers. So she was obviously a very special person. And she didn't have that conversation, and you never knew that was going to happen. We never know when things are going to happen. And just to mention that, you know, for organ donation, only 1 to 2% of people will die in circumstances where organ donation is actually possible. So each of those opportunities are so precious and so special. So thank you again. So we're going to finish. Our chairperson, Eddie Flood, is going to say a few words now. Sorry, not doing this right at all. There we go.
Thank you, Carol. Thanks to everybody who attended here today, and all our branch volunteers and patient advocacy groups for their work in this area to promote organ donor awareness. Thanks to all the healthcare professionals, including representatives of Organ Donation and Transplant Ireland, here today, who, despite the strains on the healthcare system, continue to be so dedicated to organ donation and transplantation. Our thanks to the Minister and Department of Health officials who have committed significant time and energy to organ donation. We especially thank those who shared their experiences with organ donation and transplantation. Your stories honour lost loved ones and inspire others. Thank you for your bravery today. We respectfully seek the media support to share these people's stories to increase awareness about the importance and success of organ donation and transplantation. These stories, filled with triumphs and over adversity, offer a beacon of hope to those awaiting transplants, while also honouring the lives of loved ones lost too soon. In times of great difficulty, they serve as a reminder of our shared humanity, fostering a sense of community and reinforce our reliance on one another. So thank you everybody for participating today and attending. So it's been inspiring to listen to all the stories, and I think you agree, it gives hope to lots of people. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal part of today's event. We'd like everybody to make their way out through the side door to go around the front, where we will be doing group photographs on the steps. So firstly, we will be doing the families who came and joined us today to share their stories. Then we'll be doing the healthcare professionals together. And following that, we will have the patient advocacy groups. And if possible, we'll try and get some individual photos as well. But those are the 3 key photos. So if we could get everybody making their way out the door in a nice orderly fashion, we'll get your photos done. Thank you.